Hola todos, how we doing today? I hope we're having fun. I apologize that it's already Wednesday at, what time is it? 8:15 p.m. at night. I've really been trying to make this video all day, but I'm in massive catch-up mode post my wonderful 15th anniversary trip to Spain. I highly suggest, if anybody wants to go somewhere really interesting, Barcelona is spectacular. Madrid is a wonderful city. And if you want something really weird, go to the birthplace of Salvador Dali in Figueres. I'm a big Dali guy. We could talk more about that later. But first, let's do some good stuff here. I have questions to answer. Also some other things to bring up. Let's first do a little admin. No, I had the syllabus open. Where's the syllabus? Here it is. So we get a little bit of feel for how the class is going to flow. So last week, we had our first session, module. It was on reciprocity. We had to read Cialdini, which we did. On Tuesday, the discussion board updates were due. And today, Monday, although it's later at the night, your professor is working on answering your particular questions. I did see when I was in Blackboard, some people already started their discussion board participation. I highly suggest you start working on that quickly. Remember, 60% of your grade is participation. Don't slack on me here. It's due by Friday. So at the same time, today we start the next module. There's more reading. On Monday, we have the topical update due. A week from today, I'm going to do a question, and then a week from Friday, you got to get in and do some of your participation. Probably helps to think about your participation after watching the professor video. Okay? I didn't see any questions in the questions with regards to the class and the format or the syllabus or anything along those lines. If you have any of those questions specifically, you can always send me email as well now that I'm back on East Coast Standard Time. Let's get into some of your... let me check. Some of us had questions particularly about their topic talk. Some of us had questions particularly about the chapter. I am okay answering either. Sometimes it's more difficult for me to answer the topic talk question if all I have is the blurb that you gave me. So I might have to extrapolate my own knowledge and think what I think it is. But that's okay, just so you know. Some of us did their posts as an attachment. I highly suggest not to do this anymore going forward. If it's an attachment, and then one of your classmates asks to open it to see what you wrote before they can post on it, it's too many steps. I don't mind you writing your topic talk in Word and just cut and paste it in the Blackboard. But please don't upload it as an attachment. Alright, so I did those notes. These are other notes that I have to. Okay, let's answer some questions. Is there an industry this will not work in? Absolutely. Absolutely. Not only in a highly regulated field, but in areas where it is illegal. You know, the medical field and some legal fields are highly regulated. But a perfect example is in the pharmaceutical world. It used to be the case that pharmaceutical sales reps could do absolutely anything with their expense budget and doctors. And that's not the case anymore because the reciprocity quid pro quo is so powerful that, they had to cut that back in there. So yes, there are industries where this doesn't work. It's, if there is regulations, if there are laws in place. What would you recommend the appropriate response to be to someone using the reciprocal concessions approach to set the initial concession too high and the subject is now turned off? Do you think one could recover from this? Perhaps. Perhaps. Now, I'm going to save the rest of this discussion for some later questions, but this is very much in the vein of the rejection then retreat kind of a strategy. But if it's not framed well and there is too high, then there's no possibility of reciprocity because it just seems ridiculous. Okay? You could turn someone off. When I think of reciprocity, I think of timeshare, free vacations with a 1-hour seminar. Is this an example of reciprocity that has gone too far? Well, there are a lot of timeshares out there, and a lot of times when you are at a timeshare location, you might be able to get yourself an extra 3-day weekend or a da-da-da-da if you listen to a 90-minute sales pitch. Okay? Usually these pitches are very strong, and you feel some sense of obligation. Okay? Is it an example that's gone too far? I don't think it's an example that's gone too far. But I think the rule of reciprocity can only be so strong if the ask is too high. I.e., look, you're staying at a timeshare, but if they want you to purchase a $50,000 timeshare, and that's just not within your financial budget, then you don't feel there's any reciprocity there. How can a retailer exploit an online... How does a retailer exploit an online retailer loyalty program? Is there a difference between online loyalty programs versus traditional retail shop loyalty programs? I don't see these differently. I don't see online loyalty versus traditional loyalty programs differently. Most of the smart retailers out there just want customers. And whether you buy through Target.com or whether you buy at Target in the store, it's still the same loyalty program. So I don't see any differences there. In the retail literature, we tend to call this omni-channel. The questions I have are how one can look at reciprocity without taking personal feelings into consideration. More specifically, it seems like opening a casino is about making money. The state will be the ultimate winner, and the individuals in Atlantic City will be the ultimate losers. Additionally, what's going to be the ultimate factor in deciding whether or not to move forward with new casinos? How would the state conduct their cost-benefit analysis and make it good based on the greater good? All right. So this student's topic talk was specifically about the possibility of casinos opening up in either the Meadowlands and or Jersey City. I can say in politics that an awful lot of reciprocity happens. An awful lot of reciprocity happens. As for casinos themselves, I'm not a huge fan of casinos. I think the economic literature out there on the cost benefits of casinos is not strong. Atlantic City is struggling, specifically. Opening more casinos, I don't know if that's going to help anyone, really. The jobs that most casinos have are not high-skill jobs, the majority of the employees. The short answer is, when it comes to reciprocity, we know that it works. When it comes to dealing with casinos and government, that's a little bit outside of my purview, wheelhouse, strengths. Given the rule of reciprocity spans multiple cultures, do you see a difference in how it applied through different countries throughout the world? Absolutely. Especially this related to the reject and retreat technique. Well, this I can't answer. Because this I am unsure. But for this part of the question, okay, I didn't mean to do that. Basically, we can look at the world on a continuum of individualistic versus collectivist societies. The United States is a very individualistic society. Reciprocity is very strong in this society because everybody wants gains. However, in collectivist societies, instead of I, it's we. Gift giving and reciprocity is even stronger. So much so that when Walmart went to China, and China is a very collectivist society, by the way, one is not better than the other. This is just an academic scale. It doesn't mean, collectivist societies are different. There are multiple collectivist societies, and some are very collectivist. Usually the more Asian cultures are more collectivist. The more Western cultures are more individualistic. With the US, England, Australia being the highest on the individualistic scale. But then you still have a Western country like Germany, and Germany tends to be more in the middle, kind of more collectivist than individualistic. So it's not saying that one's better than the other. But in the more collectivist society is, the stronger reciprocity will be. How does outside forces influence the parties as it relates to the reciprocity rule? It depends. In the article mentioned above, media can and have a big influence on highly publicized debates and business deals and how they're presented in the public eye. But I don't think that would influence the reciprocity process, for instance. Because media, right, they're kind of outside the exchange. The exchange is between two individuals, whether it's individual or entity. So the influence of media, it's an extraneous variable. It's a mediator. I don't see there being a direct effect there. I really don't. I think it's outside of the direct exchange between party and party. With regards to labor negotiations, why does the reject then retreat tactic remain so successful when both sides know it will be used? What impact can strikes typically have on its success? So let's look at the first part. In negotiations, and there's some of this in the book here, the reject then retreat tactic when it comes to negotiations sets the boundaries of what to be negotiated on. If I'm a startup and someone comes to me and says, I want to buy your startup, and I say a ridiculous number that I know is 2x, 3x outside of what I think the company's really worth or what I would actually might sell it for, but I kind of want to set an upper limit. And if it turns out that upper limit is well within the range of what that company wants to pay for you, but usually what happens is this reject then retreat tactic sets the boundaries on where the negotiation will be. I don't know about strikes. I really don't. And I apologize for not being able to talk to that specifically. Since those 266 people previously worth $3 to the three groups were paid more than $3, does this feel indebted to the companies that are... Okay. This question is specifically about a topic talk. But, to summarize, the company decided to pay higher than the minimum. The workers felt more trust with the company and indebtedness to the company, and some of them stayed longer, had lower turnover. Is there reciprocity happening here? Absolutely. And the company, by paying higher wages, made the first step. The workers in return felt that sense of obligation to be more loyal to the firm. Are there laws against reciprocity in politics? There are some, but reciprocity happens a lot in politics. Politicians have to, for instance, disclose relationships. Politicians have to disclose consulting arrangements, political funding, campaigns, stocks, boards of directors they may sit on. It's becoming less strict, I think. Yes, there are laws against reciprocity, not only in politics, but outside of politics as well. You know what I forgot to mention here in multiple cultures? When Walmart originally went to China, they had an issue with reciprocity. Walmart in the U.S. culture, gifts are not an option. Gifts are not welcome. Gifts are against company policy. No vendor can give a Walmart employee a gift. Well, then they go to China, and the gifting culture in China is very, very strong. And when Walmart workers in China were refusing gifts, that's actually worse. That is an insult to the person that's trying to give you a gift, where Walmart's just trying to stay away from the rule of reciprocity. To the point where Walmart started wearing their lanyards with their name on it, and literally it said on the lanyard, "Please forgive me, but I will not accept gifts." They had to spell it out, and they still had problems with it. All right. In your opinion, do you agree with the book that the relative size of the gift is unimportant, or the article? Okay. The short answer is absolutely yes, and it's not just my opinion. There are multiple peer-reviewed journal articles. They tend to use the word valence. Okay? If someone gives you a favor, and even if it's a small favor in magnitude, in your head, you still feel like you owe them something, and whatever favor you return, the valence or the worth or the size of that favor, you may forget that the size of the gift was small. All you know is that you owe someone, and that someone else made the first step, not you. So you may return reciprocity, a bigger gift, valence-wise, than you actually received. It's not my opinion. It's been replicated in study after study after study after study. If someone performs a favor for someone else and they get into a disagreement, and then the reciprocity feeling sours, is it possible for that feeling to return for that original favor if they become friends again? It's possible. They become friends again. If they're friends again, then especially we need to know more about how they became friends again. But even the process of becoming friends again, there might be a reciprocity relationship forming just on the process of becoming friends, regardless of the favor prior to them falling out. Okay? Can initial acts of giving be purely selfless? Yes. Or is there always an underlying psychological component that motivates one to give with the expectation to receive in return? Although it may be purely selfless with regards to not getting something in return, okay, you do get a feeling that the only way to get this feeling is if you do something selfless. So there is a reciprocity component to it. You may donate, even though that charity will not give anything back. It may be purely selfless, but that feeling of, I feel like a better person now, and I couldn't have felt like a better person unless I did this selfless act. Moreover, can unconditional love and caring truly exist if reciprocity is so deeply ingrained? Sure. Unconditional love and caring can exist. Absolutely. I don't see it any different than the example that I just talked about up here. You may not get something directly in return, but you certainly get something indirectly in return, and that indirect thing that you really want, you can get no other way other than being purely selfless or unconditional love. I'm having a hard time understanding Cialdini's ideas of reciprocity as such, as not bribes or manipulations. Can you please explain? This is an excellent question. I should have put someone's name here, and I'm very thankful you asked. For example, getting someone to buy something they don't want to order make them feel obliged does not seem like reciprocity to me. Agreed. All right. First of all, reciprocity is very powerful to the point where you will even do a favor back to erase a debt, even if you really don't want to do that favor. And you've all done this. You've all gone on blind dates you didn't want to go on because you owed someone a favor. You wanted to erase that debt. Right? Right? You might have done someone a favor at work and you didn't want to do that favor, but you owed someone something. All right. So here is the thing. When it comes to the ideas of reciprocity. Reciprocity is very powerful. These weapons of influence, the other 5 that we're going to go over beyond reciprocity, are very powerful. They can be used for good. They can be used for bad or evil the same way. And they're just as effective. That's the scary part. Really what it comes down to are intentions. What are my intentions? How do they impact you? Because what happens is that people have been using these weapons of influence for a very long time. Okay? These are not necessarily new. Cialdini did an incredible job of doing peer-reviewed scientific research to hammer down on which ones work and which ones do not work. But what happens is many of these weapons of influence might be good for a one-time only effect. And really what reciprocity should be is the beginning of a long-term, mutually beneficial relationship. I tend to call this networking. If it's a culture of reciprocity, back and forth, I help you, you help me, I want to help you, you help me, I help you, you help me, then guess what? I don't think of it as a bribe. I think of it as networking. I think of it as a mutually beneficial relationship, and we're friends. But if I'm using reciprocity to manipulate you, black hat kind of a way, and guess what? This relationship's not going to continue. This is a one-time quid pro quo. you will not be doing other reciprocity deals with this individual in the future. Is that really what you want? So, to summarize, reciprocity can be used for white hat and black hat. It depends on the intent of the individual starting the reciprocal task. Hope that answers your question. How does what the Boy Scout did to the woman, $5 ticket versus $1 candy bar, different than the fire alarm salesman trying to sell you a heat-censored alarm system? Although the fire alarm system is much more expensive than the candy, essentially doing the same thing as the Boy Scout implementing the sales strategy. No, things are different. Well, what happens is that even though this is a $5 ticket versus a $1 candy bar, the valence with regards to these two are substantially closer in value. It's a 5-to-1 relationship, but it's a very low 5-to-1 relationship. If you want to talk about a fire alarm system and a heat-censored alarm system, it may be 5-to-1, but the one that they want you to buy, which is the lower one, the one part of the relationship, might be well beyond your financial budget. So this might be ridiculous, but this is not an easy ask. You know, if the Boy Scout needed to sell 100 candy bars, right? He could ask 100 people for, hey, buy a candy bar from me, right? And he might be able to sell 33 to 40 candy bars right out of the gate, asking 100 people. But if the Boy Scout does this and really wants this, he's probably going to sell 60 to 80 candy bars right out of the gate. This is a very, very effective technique. It's a framing technique. But the frame has to be appropriate. And here the frame is not appropriate. It's too high. In the Rule of Overpowering section, Cialdini stated that buying more raffle tickets from Joe, the more they liked him than people willing to do favors than someone they like. I'm just wondering, what does attractive appearance has more to do with hold during marketing? In my place, if someone is super handsome asking me to buy something, I would probably say yes. Yes. His good appearance can also be a gift first. Okay. This is actually one of the 6 weapons of influence. I don't mind talking about this. It's not necessarily reciprocity. But in Chapter 5, we're going to talk about liking the friendly thief. Okay? And there is no question that we like to do business with people that we like in the first place. And we are biologically wired to like physical attractiveness. So liking helps. Physical attractiveness helps. It's easier to start a relationship with someone who's physically attractive. And then the reciprocity can happen. So this is more Chapter 5 than Chapter 2, but I wanted to answer the question. In the last part of the chapter, the textbooks taught us how to distinguish bad purpose versus good faith. But non-professional marketing people may or cannot tell which one is good for themselves. For that situation, that's why so many fake products or liar companies take advantages. People are not as smart as marketers yet. Or in the U.S., there are significantly lax laws around this stuff. Infomercials. God, just look at diet products and exercise products. I mean, ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But every one of those diet products and exercise they're not trying to build a CRM relationship with you. They're one-trick ponies. It's stack it high, let it fly, forget about it, sell it. The hard part in the United States marketplace is it's caveat emptor, buyer beware. The buyer is responsible for their own actions. This is significantly more common in an individualistic society than a collectivist society. In a collectivist society, the family makes the decision together. And it's harder for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people within a 2 or a 3 multi-generational household to make a decision and be influenced by fake or liar, because more people are involved. They'll be like, or they have experience with this kind of stuff from the past. By the way, I love that he does, in the back of every one of these chapters, give us skills or nuggets or takeaways on how to defend yourself against all these techniques, because there are a lot of black hat wearers out there that use them for not so ethical purposes, and they work in not so ethical purposes. The article's perspective is largely from the employee's perspective. How can I leverage the rule of reciprocity to achieve something? But what does that mean from the managerial perspective? I think this all works in B2B. I think this all works from the manager's perspective. You can do this one-to-one, or you can do this one-to-many. I mean, we saw a Topic Talk example earlier. This one right here specifically. All 6 of these techniques, I see no conflict whatsoever with a manager using them. With one-to-one, manager to employee, or manager to employees. Could fostering an environment of reciprocity create accountability issues? No. Not if it's all white hat. Not if it's all mutually beneficial. Not if we develop a stronger, positive relationship and it's a win-win for all people all around. But if you're using it for black hat and manipulative purposes, then, well, okay. Yeah. How can negatively impact productivity to be best managed? Well, it's really a cultural thing, Is there a lot of backbiting at work, or is everybody out for themselves? Is it a dog-eat-dog world? Do you sabotage each other's employee evaluations because you know that you have a better chance of keeping your job and getting a raise? Well, if that's the culture you work in, then The rule of reciprocity seems to have been used for centuries and have very common and well understood strategies. Agreed. The Federal Trade Commission requires celebrities and influencers to disclose when they're receiving products for free from brands. They do, but it's not monitored real well. It's not like taxes, Do you think this will impact how advertisements will be done in the future? Well, I'm going to answer this question, but I don't want to go off on a 3-hour tangent here. But this is one of the ways marketing is moving in a Web 2.0 bottom-up world, where you have Viners and YouTubers and Instagrammers. Then guess what? Some of them disclose and some of them do not disclose that they're being paid for their content to their audience. There's no Federal Trade Commission registration there for non-celebrities or pseudo-celebrities or digital celebrities who are very influential. Yet, this is how product awareness happens in the future. We are advertising less and less and less on Empire and more and more with a Viner or a YouTuber or doing a white paper and doing inbound marketing techniques, or freemium models where we're giving everything away for free to build a large audience and then you market to that particular audience. Some other product. In today's business world, it seems, and the article says, that many people receive success extracting greater output from another party than you put in. It sounds manipulative. How does one sell an equally contributive relationship to management without having views as a shortcoming for not exploiting it? This goes back to my white hat versus black hat tactics. Mutually beneficial all around. White hat. Purely manipulative, one-way, tic-tac, quid pro quo. Not good for anyone. Short-term thinking. In nearly every business transaction, there is a need for a contract, a letter of intent, or other official documentation stating the relationship between two parties. Perhaps. Has reciprocity and good faith been eliminated in business? No. As a matter of fact, I was just reading an awesome book, which I got to write a blog post about, called The Moral Molecule. What an incredible book this is. I'll send you the link when I do my summertime book list. Okay. There are some cultures, particularly in New York and Amsterdam, in the diamond markets, okay, particularly in China, in Japan, in the super high-end seafood markets, that if someone says a price and you hand over a wad of cash and agree to the price, the money's never counted. Because if you were to cut corners to take advantage in one deal, you will lose that relationship for posterity. And your reputation will be gone. And no one else will do business with you ever again. So you say this is $20 million worth of diamonds, and you hand over a suitcase worth of cash, and guess what? There better be $20 million in there. Because if there isn't, you'll never do business with this individual again. You'll basically get blacklisted. So sure, there might be a contract, a letter, and all this other stuff, but there's still good faith. Is there a negative side to reciprocity or an example where it can fail? I think we've talked about this extensively with white hat versus black hat. Okay? All right, class. This was a good set of questions. This was a good start to the semester. I really enjoyed the topic talks. I'm going to be doing more grading of the participation after Friday so I can see. One other thing, there are a bunch of posts that say anonymous that don't have a class name's name attached to them in Blackboard. Ignore them all. When we created the shell and we carried stuff over from the last time I taught this class, these were actually comments from the last time this class was taught. And we just got to go in and delete them. So ignore all those. Only look at topic talks and look at posts from students that you see a name. Outside of that, I'm good. If you have any questions, you shoot me email. I look forward to seeing all your secondary posts, and I look forward to seeing your next set of questions next week. Dr. Dano is out.